Syndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
Hi, he's Shep.
Hi.
I'm Sean. There's a lot of stuff to do. I know everybody's a college basketball expert this week, so we'll have our experts chat it up and everything. You know how that works. Shep, I've been waiting all day to ask you this question, and I'm serious. I know you're going to think that I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being very, very serious. I respect your opinion. I thought you did a hell of a job. I'm not just saying that in your time with the Tigers and everything. So I've been waiting, and I even told my son I was going to ask you this question. So, Jack, I'm keeping my word. Shep says hello. See, did you hear that? Tom, good evening. Seriously, Shep, when is a prospect no longer a prospect?
Great question.
In baseball? No, I'm serious. When is a prospect? When do we stop talking about? I'll tell you why this came up. Jace Young as a prospect. When do we stop?
So some would say 1,500 major league at-bats.
Okay.
That's when they become a guy you should probably start to judge a little bit. I've said this for a long time. Look at the number. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but it's almost double. Look at the number of minor league at-bats Mike Trout had compared to Riley Green or Spencer Torkelson. They're getting there, right? They're damn close to no longer being prospects. I would say they're no longer prospects. When you've been in the major leagues for 3 years, I think it's fair to say you're no longer a prospect. But generally, from what in my experience with coaches, hitting instructors, front office personnel, the majority of them told me about 1,500 at bats, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I think Jace Young is still a prospect.
Okay.
I would love to know what the Tigers are thinking about third base right now. Because when you're moving Javier Baez to third, Matt Vierling's out with an injury, Jace Young's been sent down, why you would play Spencer Torkelson in right field instead of giving him some ground balls at third, I don't know. Okay, I'm not saying he would be the second coming of Nolan Arenado, but I don't think he would look all that out of place. I don't think it. Let me ask you this, Sean. Does Spencer Torkelson have the body or the movement of a right fielder in your mind?
No, sir.
No.
Sir.
Look, Scott Harris, AJ Hinch have forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. To me, that's confusing. And I think they've put themselves in this spot because they love this, quote, versatility. I've hated it. I've hated it forever. I want guys who can play the position. You have to have some utility guys. There's plenty of Zach McKinstry's and Andy Ibanez's out there. But I would like a guy who nails down a certain position. They just don't have that many guys. Sucks.
Can I ask you this about a guy like Jace Young? And I want to be crystal clear when I say this, Shep.
Crystal.
Yes, crystal. You know, like a few good men. I am not saying it's over. He's never going to make it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
However, when you are 24 years old and you still haven't found a way, especially under the circumstances that you just described, they are waiting for somebody to say, this job is mine. This is my job. Shep, I don't know this to be sure, but from the outside looking in, it was almost as if they said, hey, listen, all right, the only thing missing from this third base thing is your name tag. But this is your job. Like, just take this job. We're all waiting for you to take. Yeah. Isn't that something that should alarm you? And again, I'm going to tell you and everybody, I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying another wasted Avila pick. I'm not going down that road yet. But at what point in time do we say, okay, maybe he's not so much a prospect anymore, but let's hope just a good contributor? Does that make sense?
Well, let's remind everybody, he's originally a second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
At Texas Tech, he was a second baseman. He was drafted. I'm not saying he was drafted as a second baseman, but the move to third is there. The reason he is supposed to make an impact with this franchise is because of his bat, not because of his glove.
100%.
And that's why when you and I talked not too long ago about free agency, That's what scares the living crap out of me. Cole Keith has never played first. I'm sure he can. He's athletic enough to make I'm not saying he's Sergei Fedorov forward to defense, but I'm sure Cole Keith will be able to make the adjustment. I'm sure he's athletic enough to do that. But remember, again, he's a guy who was brought here as an offensive guy. He didn't really have a position, Sean. Shortstop, second base. Now he's a first baseman. Okay. You get a second baseman whose defense is awful. You get a shortstop, huge question mark, throwing errors by Baez. Sweeney, good, no stick. And you got now a huge question mark at third base. I think that's a serious concern. It's not just Jace Young. I think the entire infield is a serious concern.
It's awful. On paper, I'm not joking. It's Shep, I'll say it. It's awful. That entire whoever they put at third base. But to me, this is where if this guy was a warm body, if he could go up there and do something at the plate, I would assume that he would be at third right now because Shep, all jokes aside, and yes, I'm letting emotions get involved. Okay. I'm always the guy that says, don't let emotions get involved. I'm getting emotional. This could be a really bad infield this year, man. I'm not joking when I say that.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're joking either. And I think you're 100% right. I think he's still a prospect. We're talking about a guy who had 200 and did he have 200 at bats last year? Help me with that in the major league.
Sure. Todd, check this.
He may have had, last year, no, it wasn't even 200. I bet you he was projected for 200. Last year, I look it up here. I think he had under 100 at bats, right? He had, under 100 at bats. I would consider Cole Keith still a prospect.
Right.
I still personally think Parker Meadows is a prospect. Dylan Dingler's a prospect, right?
Thank you, Todd.
How much runway are you? How much are you willing to let them fail?
Mm-hmm.
That's the big question.
No question.
It's easy for me and you and anybody else to say, just let the young guys play. Well, what happens when those young guys go over 26? Then what do you do?
You got it.
Because then getting sent down, that affects you. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Sean Baligian or what. It's going to affect you when you go down. It's a mental – there's a mental part of the game that's just as important as the physical part of the game. 79 at bat. Thank you.
So, Shep, that's what I'm getting at. When you're talking about a guy who's 24 years old, who's still scrambling to make the majors, even when seemingly, okay, and maybe I'm to blame here. Maybe it's me. Maybe I read the room differently. I'm man enough to admit it. But seemingly in my mind, Shep, they wiped down third base. They did everything but put his name tag on there. Okay. And yet
that was the expectation. Yes.
Right. And so that's when I say to myself, okay, you know what? Maybe this guy isn't the guy. Maybe he's no longer a prospect. And no, let's just hope that he can find himself, et cetera, because one would think, and I use the same thing in hockey. If you're throwing around the term prospect when a guy's 24 years old, I can tell you this definitively. There are a lot of scouts that are going to give you the side eye. Does that make sense?
It does. I don't look at the age as much as I look at the experience. And if I'm not judging a guy on 79 at bats,
sure,
I'm going to do it. So I'm going to let him marinate a little bit in the minor leagues. You hope that he fixes whatever issues it is, and then you hope. But to your point, he's 24. Spencer Torkelson's 24, and he's been in the league for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cole Keith spent a whole year, and he was a 5th round pick, by the way. Jace Young was a 1st round pick. So he spent an entire year in the major leagues. So I get the concern. I'm just not going to give up on him yet, and I do think he's still a prospect. But there is a point in time, Matt Manning, Alex Faedo, who they shipped off to Tampa. Yeah. Those are fair questions. So let me ask you this. Alex Lang last year, remember going into last year, everybody thought, okay, there's your closer, right?
Yep.
Down to Toledo. Would you consider him a prospect? I wouldn't. Would you give up on him? Some people think they should.
Well, when you have Bo Brisky can cover like for the shortcomings of everybody. You know what? The man has a bionic arm. It's not like it gets tired or anything. So
it's the reason they're going to win it.
I bet he could
You
play
know that.
third too. I bet you could fire Brisky at third. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
I
Happy
can tell you
St.
this,
Patrick's Day.
he'd have a better arm than just about anybody else over there. You know that.
Jason said, "Happy St. Patrick's Day." Tork in right field reminds me of when the Cubs moved Schwarber to the outfield.
That's a good one. They moved him to left field, I believe, which was kind of funny. But I think that's a really good example. Torque going to right field, to me, again, I think it's like, I get how all teams want to find additional places for guys for at-bats. But think about your outfield for a minute. Green, Meadows, Veerling, Carpenter, Perez, Ibanez can play the outfield. McKinstry, they say, can play the outfield. Hell, I think Javier Baez has taken some fly balls in center field.
Oh.
And every guy is going to go, look, I'll play wherever they want to play me. But in the end, if you're just mixing and matching pieces, how much confidence does that give you? I'm sure it doesn't matter what you and I think, it matters what the team thinks, but how much confidence can you really have in a guy who's never played there before?
I agree. More on that in a second. Hold that thought. Tom said, "Who is the catcher?" It's going to be Rogers and Dinkler, right? That's going to be the twosome. Yeah, I think that's going to be the left.
And that's another good example, Sean. Dylan Dingler. I mean,
yeah,
that's a second round pick out of Ohio State.
26 now. How old is he? I believe
he's 26. Type that in. But I believe he's 25 or 26.
All right, Todd, fact check us.
Yeah, I think that's a prospect, but because he hasn't played in the majors.
Yeah,
right. For a cup of coffee last year.
Yeah. But you want to tell me that you're serious and you really, because Shep, this is Sean talking, by the way. Okay, let me clarify that. For years we heard we're hamstrung by this contract. We're hamstrung by Miggy. We're hamstrung by this. Now we're going to spend. We're going to spend when we get competitive. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. You want to tell me? You want to tell me you're serious about like winning now? You write that check to make Javi go.
Can you show me the example that would tell you to the contrary? That's all.
What's that?
Show me the example where they are, where you take them seriously as a team that is all in.
Well, I think, Shep, when you number one, you spend some money out there and not just throw offers out there. I mean, actually go get some guys.
They did spend money, though. They did spend money. Spent $15 million on Torres.
Whenever you add Glaber, everything. No, but you understand. Okay, make Javi Baez go away. Like, it's not going to work. We all know it. It is not going to work.
You as an owner, you would eat $83 million?
Yes. If I had been telling people that I've been hamstrung and we're serious about winning and just wait till we're competitive, wait till you see what we do. He is a detriment to this baseball team. We can talk about he's a good guy and the guys love him and all that stuff. Yeah. Great, fine and dandy. What do you expect the guys to say? Shep, there's no reason for him to be around there. I'm watching this guy try to play third base on hips that were surgically repaired. You know what I like? Yeah. What are we doing here? To me, it's a mockery. I feel sorry for AJ, who's done a hell of a job. He has done a hell of a job with what has been at his disposal. This is no way, shape, or form an indictment on AJ, but I think it's an indictment on what a lot of people feel about the ownership of this team, and are we really serious about being competitive?
Well, I have great respect for AJ. I do, but he's part of this too, man. I mean, he and Scott Harris are the ones making this roster up. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying he's got the purse strings to Javier Baez, but there's not a whole lot that gets done without those two guys knowing. Okay, so they're kind of attached at the hip, so you can feel bad for them. I think he's a great manager, and I mean that sincerely. I think he's a great manager. I think he's an elite communicator as well. But, there are certain guys that he wants to have. And I'm not saying Baez is one of them. I'm just saying there are certain guys that he wants to have. Sean, it's a serious problem with this team right now. And
no question.
recognize it. I think, people think it's funny, oh, the pitching chaos. Okay. Somebody, texted in, they're like, hashtag fielding chaos. They say that lightly, but it really is. And you don't want fielding chaos. You can handle the pitching chaos, but you don't want fielding chaos.
No, sir.
Good teams don't do this. How many other teams saddled with a Baez contract? So it's a really good question that you have. How many would buy him out? And don't give me the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers. That is not Detroit's tier. How many other teams would buy that player out?
I would like the Tigers. I'm not saying go back to the prime years of the late Mr. Illich, okay? I would like the Tigers to jump from that 20 to 15 tier to maybe that 15 to 10 tier. And if I'm being honest in my answer, gosh, I maybe 1 out of 5 in that area, Shep. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it, but I would like the Tigers to jump from that, that 20-ish range, move up a few pegs on the thing, because I firmly believe, and Tampa proves me right, and Cleveland proves me right, and Minnesota proves me right. Yes, you got a cute little system, and yes, you do a really good job bringing up these young players, but come October, you're not winning dick. It's not happening.
Yeah, look, Sean, I'd like them to be 20. They weren't even 20 last year, okay? They were
I know.
26, okay?
I know.
They're ranked 26 out of 30 teams. I hesitate to say they should go buy him out because it's not my money, right?
Right.
What I would have liked them to do is go out and get players instead of one-year rental players, Mark Canha, Gio Urshela, guys like Gleyber Torres. And, they did make it a competitive bid for Alex Bregman, but felt like to me, I'm not saying this is fact, but it felt like to me they didn't have a backup plan. So if you're not going to go get Alex Bregman, what if he says no? It's the same thing with Carlos Correa. What if he says no? Oh, I'm telling you, man, he played with AJ, so he wants to come here. What if he says no? What are you going to do? Right. So what I kept saying on my show is, go get Anthony Santander. I said, he can play out. You like these people who can play all these different positions. He can play right field. Not great in right field, but he can play right. Kerry Carpenter's not great in right field either. So he can play right field. He can play first base, which is his natural position. Okay, so you don't have to move Colt Keith. He's a switch hitting power hitter. What more would you want? And you could sign him to a short-term deal, 2 to 3 years. In Toronto, I think signed him to a 3-year contract. What would have been wrong with that? Nothing. But that tells me right there that they weren't willing to spend money. You don't want to eat the contract of Javier Baez? Okay. You're going to go all in on Alex Bregman. What if you don't get him? You don't have a backup plan. Oh, what if you did get Alex Bregman and you still had Anthony Santander? Oh, God forbid. You bump your payroll up from 26 to 15.
Right.
Give me a break.
So, Shep, more on that in a second. And you made me cringe for a second because it reminded me somebody else who had no backup plan. And quite frankly, it was the end of his tenure. Let me tell you about All About Catering. All About Catering LLC, full service caterer, graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people. Rick and his staff at All About Catering can and they will take care of you, as they took care of my family on a couple different occasions, because customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep, I'm sure you will remember this. I heard this story and my jaw dropped, and then I heard it from somebody who had a front row seat for it. I will not say who. Ndamukong Suh. Do you remember Martin Mayhew was so thoroughly convinced that Ndamukong Suh was going to sign here, even though multiple people were telling him, Martin, it ain't going to happen. No, we got him. Martin, it ain't going to happen. Nope. I know it. This is what's going to happen. And when Ndamukong Suh eventually went and did what a lot of people said he was going to do, I know for a fact that was a Saturday. On a Sunday, they had a meeting and they sat in a room and said, okay, what's next? I'm not making that up. I'm sure you heard that story. And when I heard that, I go, okay, well, that's the end of Martin Mayhew. Like,
right. Excited.
There was no contingency. They were so sure that Ndamukong Suh was coming back. There was zero contingency plan. So they had to make a phone call to Baltimore to try to finagle something. So
yeah, Sean, and that Haloti Nada. Sean, you're 100% right there. What did the great business owners or great sports owners always say? Know when to cut bait.
mm-hmm.
You found out you didn't do something right. Quickly get rid of it, and then move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I know people don't like Tom Gores. Tom Gores recognized Monty Williams isn't working.
Oh.
You signed him in the first place. That's not the point. The point is he recognized, cut. See you later. You say what you want about Tom Gores, and I know how people feel. Oh, he's in LA. He's never in Detroit, so on and so forth. The one thing he did do well, though, is he went out. He got what he thought was the most qualified coach, and he spent like nobody's business. It's funny how we sit there and we complain. Chris Ilitch doesn't spend money. Tom Gores spends money. What an idiot. What did you sign him to a contract for? You can't have it both ways. Well, what he did do is he said, you know what? This is not going to work out. I'm going to cut my losses now, and I'm going to try and fix it. Smart, right? If the Tigers and somebody, texted in here and they said, what do you do with him then? You can't play him every day. No. You platoon him or just let him sit and rot on the bench? You don't let him sit and rot on the bench. What you do is you platoon him. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to platoon him and Trace Sweeney at shortstop. And quite honestly, because you're in the situation you are in at third base, it might help to have a guy like one of those two to play third base. So, I mean, that's what you're going to have to do with him. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat the money. I'm just saying it's easy for me to say to eat the money, and it's easy for fans to say the same thing.
I'll platoon. I can't be worse than the worst player at the plate. I can't. It's really, if I'm the worst player at the plate, I'm the worst player at the plate. I'll platoon. And I'll throw my body at balls. At least I'll knock them down. Come on. No chance in hell I'm throwing anybody out, but at least I'll knock them down. I have a feeling that Scuba will be traded just like the rest of the aces the Tigers have had in the past. Tom, I hate to say this, Shep. Why would anybody think that we're gonna? No, we're not gonna let him get away. What? Based on what? Why? Maybe he surprises us, but right now, based on what would make me think that they're going to lock him up and say, "Nah, we want you to be a Tiger for the next 8 years."
I think they would like to. My question is, are they willing to spend $40 million?
Sure.
Because that's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you $40 million. Tarek Skubal's what, 28?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's got 1 year left after this year. And I don't know how many contracts he's going to get. He doesn't know how many contracts he's going to get. He's already had a couple of surgeries. If you're Tarek Skubal, you're going to get as much money as you possibly can. Yeah. And I don't blame him. And no one should begrudge him for doing that. They're not begrudging Myles Garrett in Cleveland. They're not begrudging Max Crosby. It's all attaboy, good for you, right? They're going to play on a cruddy team. Might as well make some money. Tarek Skubal's on an okay team. Let him make the money, right? What have they done in Chris Ilitch's tenure that makes you believe they're going to sign one player to a $40 million a year contract? And you can say to me all you want, well, he may not do that. It may be a hometown discount. Please stop with the hometown discount crap. All right. Guys are going to get their money, and they should go get their money. And maybe they'll surprise us. I hope he does surprise us. Okay. And then I'll apologize and I'll say I was wrong. He just hasn't given us that indication.
That's why I keep saying it. Based on what Eric said, it's the one day he wears green. I want to get into Michigan in a little bit. Some other, come on, Sean, or the Lions have always had the cider mill as a backup plan. Do you know how great it is to not go to the cider mill on football Sundays anymore, Shep? Seriously, I go to the cider mill other days now. A lot of times the last couple of years on Saturdays, let's be honest. Hey, woo, between the two states I love, Wayne State, Michigan State, to the cider mill I go. Hey, did you know thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right question to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and yes, help save you money. Chances are, just like my family, You haven't checked your policies. I mean, who thinks to check your policies? That's what Alex is going to do for you. One of the great guys at Legacy. Chances are you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. So what are you waiting for? Give Legacy a chance to help with your home, your car, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Shep, I always laugh the whole silly Michigan State thing. Okay. I do, because people are just big babies. There's no other way to say it. Hey, Michigan fans, you wanted the Big Ten title. You did.
Sure.
You did. Okay. Hey, Michigan State fans, you wanted the conference tourney title.
Sure.
Like, it's not that difficult, right?
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's the silliest gosh darn thing. It's absurd.
But Sean,
go ahead.
If you're Michigan State, you're the Big Ten champions. Okay? I mean, you're 3 games clear of Michigan and Maryland. You are top 10. You're a 2 seed. You won more regular season games. I've always felt this. I've always felt, look, you win the Big Ten regular season, you're the Big Ten champions. You got to put tournament at the other end of the Michigan. I'm not saying they haven't accomplished anything. They have. It's a nice job. You won 3 games. Good. And you beat 3 good teams. Michigan State won, was it 17 games, Sean? Were they 17 or 16-5, whatever? 16-4? They're the Big Ten champions as far as I'm concerned.
Eric, you know what's funny about this? Eric said more important winning the Big Ten tournament. That is 100% incorrect.
Why would that be?
I'm going to tell you why it was 100% incorrect.
No, why would he think it's more
I have no idea why he would think that. I don't. And this is where I know somebody will say, well, look at the hat you're wearing. No, congratulations. You won the tournament. Okay.
Yeah.
The tournament did absolutely nothing to help you. Nothing. Zero.
Well, look, you're right about that, but we can debate on whether or not it should have.
Oh, 100. I think it should have, Shep. 100%.
Yeah.
Yesterday proved to me again that the committee made their decisions long before Sunday afternoon. Okay. Yeah. In my mind, you cannot justify Michigan as a 5 seed after they won the Big Ten conference tournament. You can't. Not at that point in time, you graduated to 4 seed territory. Okay. Now, that may not mean a lot to people. Okay. And conversely, Michigan State was locked in at a 2. If they won the Big Ten conference tournament, I'm convinced that wouldn't have changed. They were going to be a 2.
They needed Auburn to win the SEC tournament.
Right.
I think because Florida gets in there because they won the SEC tournament, and I think Florida's really good. I think they got it right. I think the ones are right, and you and I talked about this last week. Michigan State is a 2 going to Cleveland is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Eric goes missing, by the way.
I would give you 2 thumbs up for that. I would just say, Michigan State going 17-3 tells me an awful lot. Michigan having 12 quad 1 wins, and granted, 3 of them came in the Big Ten tournament, but they had 12 quad 1 wins. They beat Indiana 2 out of 3. They finished higher in the conference standings than, or not Indiana, Wisconsin. They finished higher in the conference standings than Wisconsin. It makes no sense that they're lower seeded than Wisconsin.
No,
I'm not saying they should deserve a 3 seed. I think 4 would have been fair. I don't think Wisconsin should be a 3. And we can blame the NCAA selection committee all we want, but you know what, Sean? Shame on the Big Ten. The Big Ten should recognize that their conference tournament championship game being played at 3:00 in the afternoon, the day that the selection committee comes out with their picks, doesn't help their team.
At
the
all.
only reason they're doing it to appease CBS television. That's it.
Yep. Follow the dollar signs. I mean, oftentimes you'll find your answer, and that's like, seriously, I hope you guys understand. And Eric, I know you were having some fun with it. He made a point to say it is more important. I think Michigan got jobbed. I do. I think Michigan got jobbed, and it's a reminder. Austin said, conference tournaments are stupid. I will die on this hill. I like them. I do. It's become to the point of tradition. I'm one of those guys. I went to the Wings game yesterday, and then, by the way, I went down to Joik's Place Parlay. I don't know if you've been there, Shep. Great spot. Got a chance to see Joik yesterday. Watching the tournament, and, all the Michigan fans were going crazy and all. Good for you. That's outstanding. But it didn't mean anything. And I don't quite understand that, Shep. I don't. Come on, it's a conference tournament. Now, if they did as you suggested and decided that they were going to end it in Indianapolis on a Saturday, would it mean something?
Yeah.
Probably, right? Probably.
Yeah. I mean, so it means something to the school. It means something to Dusty Man.
Of course.
But in the long run, you're right. I mean, there's a few things when you look at the NCAA tournament selection that you immediately jump out at you. One is that the Big Ten tournament championship game means absolutely nothing to the selection committee.
Yes.
An important anecdote to the selection committee. Otherwise, Michigan would have finished higher seeded than Wisconsin. They already had the decision going into the game. Everybody knows it. The other thing you recognize is that North Carolina being 1-12 against quad one opponents, and their athletic director getting a huge bonus now that their team is in the NCAA tournament and being on the selection committee and being in charge of the selection committee tells you that was a selfish move on his part and that North Carolina had no business being in the tournament.
Hey, Shep, I am beyond a shadow of a doubt convinced, and you know as well as I do why North Carolina got in. And I will go a step further. A couple of years ago, when was that? 2021, when Michigan State was 15-13 and under 500 in the Big Ten. Okay. And we can talk about quad 17 wins and all that crap until we're blue in the face. You're 15-13 and under 500 in your conference, man. There was no doubt in my mind that Michigan State was getting in the tournament, whether it be a play-in game, as it eventually was, because you know as well as I do. You know what? If North Carolina's on, I'm watching it. I'm turning in, right? I am. That's the way it is. That's the reality of the situation.
I think you're 100% right. Does that make them wrong? Since all these other networks, there's a reason certain teams are on Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain reasons why the four-letter network constantly broadcasts Yankees and Red Sox. And there's a certain reason why, at least when the Red Wings were good, and maybe a little bit now, that they play a lot on national TV. And now it's probably Washington because of Ovechkin. It's not like everybody else doesn't do it.
Right.
The problem with this is supposed to be earned. And all these other ones are strictly for ratings. This is supposed to be earned. So when you've got a team like West Virginia who has 6 quad one wins and they're getting screwed, you can understand why there's a lot of people looking at the NCAA selection committee going, hold on a second. What is going on here? Let's unearth some things.
1,000%, man.
People have done that. Yeah.
No, that's exact. And honestly, I mean this, Shep. I'm at the point right now, like, I get it. I totally get it. And a lot of times the devil is in the detail. When you ask these talking heads to try to explain their logic, and so often out of one side of their mouth comes one explanation, and then out of the other side of the mouth comes something that completely contradicts what they said 2 seconds earlier. It's one of the funniest goddamn things. It really is.
Yeah.
According to the Chat GPT, the average NCAA tournament finish for regular season conference championship 13-8 is slightly better compared to tournament champions 15.7. There you go. Hey, if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northland, owned by those two guys right there, the Handsome brothers, with over 20 years of industry experience. That's Mike Husak, Jeff Husak, two great guys that understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. And that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, you got yourself a company, maybe you're thinking of selling it, you're already in retirement, doesn't matter. These are guys that can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one, and if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, then it might be time to work with the experts. reach out to my friends, Mike and Jeff, and the great folks with the Wealth Advantage Group, Aaron as well, 248-773-8574, or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Shep, you know what? I wanted to bring this up to you. It's almost like college football season right now with everybody talking about the SEC. The SEC basketball is loaded this year. It really it is amazing.
Sean.
It's incredible. And look at all the ones and twos. That's the crazy thing. All the ones and two seeds.
Yeah, they better hold up their end of the bargain. It's the most any conference has had since the 11 by the Big East, I think, in 2011. I think we are enamored with their offense, and I'm really excited to see how they handle somebody with a really good defense.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And I think that's important. We'll see what happens. Eric brings up an interesting point. He says, "Be nice if all conference winners got the automatic bid into the tournament." I've always said that. To be honest with you, Tom said that. Tom, I agree with you, but the tournament's got to mean something, okay? And you can't have the automatic winner in the regular season and the tournament when you're dealing with mid-majors.
Yep.
Otherwise, you may be taking 2 from the Southland. You may be taking 2 from the Mid-American Conference. You may be taking 2 from the Big West. I don't know, but they run the risk of that, and then that squeezes out a team like North Carolina, for example, or something along those lines.
Do you know what, Austin? I agree with what you're saying, but hear me out in my response. He said, "I try not to dwell on the negativity of March Madness and just enjoy it. Always a buzzer beater, a Cinderella, or 2, some entertaining teams you never see. First 2 rounds, just a great sports weekend every year." Yes, but isn't the bitching part of it? They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. People all over the nation are talking about them since that was released.
Yes.
We're having the exact same conversations. People are saying winning a conference tournament title doesn't mean anything. Look at this team. Look at that team. They know what they're doing. They're playing us, man. They are. This is part of March Madness, and
it's smart.
It's
smart.
Brilliant.
This is the way you do it. College football, the same thing, right, Sean? I mean, who's making the college football playoffs and so on and so forth.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Let's see. Eric said, so the Michigan State Big Ten tournament banners mean nothing, right? No, neither Sean nor I are saying they don't mean anything. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't mean anything to the NCAA selection committee. I would much rather have the Big Ten played on a Saturday. And why do the other big conferences play on a Saturday? Why are you playing the same day as the A-10?
It makes sense. Shep, you know the rule, and Eric, you know me better than that, dude. Come on. People hear what they want to hear. So I'll say it again for the record right now, okay? Congratulations, hang the banner. It doesn't help you in the selection committee's eyes. Right. You got screwed.
Yes.
You got no bump from that. So basically what you're doing is doing the direct opposite of what I'm saying. It meant nothing to the selection committee.
And for people who say, well, you're a 5 seed, a 4 seed, what difference does it make? Here's the difference. When you play UC San Diego, and I'm not going to claim to know much about, UC San Diego. I know they got 30 wins and they won 15 games in a row. Here's the other thing I know. They are the second best team in the country forcing turnovers. What is one of Michigan's Achilles heel?
Mm-hmm.
Turnovers.
You got it.
So it is about matchups. And in this case, it does have an effect. I'm not making an excuse for them prematurely. That's not fair. Traveling to Denver, doing it on 3 days rest, blah, 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 blah. Okay. You better get used to I hope they go early because you got to get used to the altitude. It's
real.
It's real and it's very unique. And I hope they go to school on that. But those things do matter. I mean, when you're coming down to a 1-game tournament, those little minute things, they add up.
Yep. Jason, I agree with you. I didn't expect Michigan to make a crazy jump winning the tournament, but to finish third and get the 5th best seed of the big dance after winning the tournament feels icky. I agree with you. You know what side of the fence that was the first thing I said when I was at dinner after the Wings game last night, Shep.
Nice.
And honestly, I was sitting with a group of people, and after Michigan beat Wisconsin, we all and there were a couple Michigan fans there, a couple State fans there, and believe it or not, an Indiana fan there, and we all said, well, that locks it up. They'll be a 4 seed. And one guy was going, maybe even a third. I don't know about that, but for sure they're going to move up to a 4. And then we were reminded of that, which we already know. It doesn't give you a boost. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
they should have been. I think they should have been a 4 win or lose once they reached.
I agree with you.
Tournament championship.
That decision should have been made Saturday.
Yes.
You know, when they made all the other decisions.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Idiots. It drives me out of my mind. Hey, when it comes time to getting yourself a new house, you're buying, you're selling, oftentimes both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? That lady right there, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. Now, when it comes time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, even first-time buyer. So make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, I'm going to say it again. I still think that the Red Wings' long-term plan is solid. I don't think it's as solid as some people make it out to be, that it's going to result in cup after cup after cup, because I think part of the problem is there are other teams that are doing it as well and even better, and a couple teams in the division that I think are doing it better at this point in time. But I need to say this. I was at the game yesterday. It was tremendous. You can say that Vegas was gassed. You could say that they were on the back end of a trip, whatever you want. Yeah. I thought it was a damn good effort. I thought it was a damn good atmosphere. Shep, I cannot wait for playoffs to be in that building. As I was walking around the building before the game, that whole area out there, the Budweiser Gardens or whatever the hell they call it, dude, I'm serious. I just want to go out there with a 6-pack and go, I don't even want to go in the game. I'm going to hang out here and watch it on the big screen and drink some beers. You know what I mean? Honestly, that is such, I think that has the potential to be such a cool area down there. Team has to find a way to take care of business themselves and get in the playoff.
Yeah. And if it's not the Wings, it'll be the Pistons. I was at the Saturday night Pistons game against OKC. JB Bickerstaff, good for him, sticking up for his guys, showing them emotion. Reminded you and I of Dennis Green. They are who we thought they were. We let them off the hook.
Yeah,
pounding the podium. He'll take the $100,000 fine or whatever. Sean, this is what I respect a lot about hockey players, all athletes, and all officials. But doesn't it seem like the rabbit ears for NBA refs and Major League Baseball umpires, for the most part, look what hockey referees have to go through. Todd McClown is saying MF or F every other word to hockey referees, and they're like, Todd, we'll be right back. We just got to drop the puck in the offensive zone, okay? So just bear with us. NBA refs are like, wait a minute, did you just use my name, Mark? You get a technical foul, Cade Cunningham. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And sure, there was 21 fouls by Detroit, 20 for OKC. Big discrepancy at the line, 22 to 13 opportunities. Therein lies the difference. And I don't know. I'm not saying it would have made a difference in terms of a Detroit getting a win. I don't feel good that we just played with them and so on and so forth. But when JB Bickerstaff said, I'm tired of this, I'm not going to stand for it, we don't get the respect. As soon as he said that word, I said, he just won over everybody in the state of Michigan.
Amen.
Because we love to wear that T-shirt.
Amen.
Detroit for everybody.
Yep. Eric said, what did you drink yesterday, Sean? Eric, I had a Labatt Blue. I love blue. I had a sausage and a hot dog, and it only cost me $107.53. And then, you know what the best thing about that is, Shep? The best thing about that is when you put your card in, then they guilt trip you. And they ask, what tip would you like to attach to that? You know, the person that opened up a beer can for me and handed me 2 hot dogs, it was a great deal, $107.53. So, of course, I gave him a 20% tip on top of that. Fair enough. Here you go.
Well, they did have to, Sean, they had to turn around, open the refrigerator, grab it, and then give it to you. It's everywhere, though. It is. It's everywhere. You could call in every Wednesday. I do boxing in the morning. I get an acai bowl. Oh, I love it. I mean, it makes me feel really good the rest of the day. I call it in. Hi, I want to order an acai bowl. Is this Matt? Yes. It'll be ready for you. I walk in. It's in a bag. I pay. I got to give 20%. I do, but I'm thinking to myself, why am I giving 20%?
Same. Well, and you know, when you get a hot dog, a sausage, and a blue light for $107, you kind of feel guilty because you know it's a good deal. So, like at that point in time, then I feel obligated. Well, you know, I kind of got a great deal here with a hot dog, a sausage, and a beer for $107.53. So I better give like 25%. That's not the lady's fault. You know what I mean? But it's like, holy shit, the prices at that freaking place, man.
Well, you could have got a full pizza for what, $35 or whatever it is.
They have that super slice now. It's $8. Shep, I'm not making that up. Like the one big slice is $8.
Well, here's the good thing. You make massive amounts of money.
It's true. That's true.
The money tree in the backyard is about to sprout a little bit. I mean,
my daughter just violated the 20s. I planted a brand new 20. They're all gone.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is you got hundreds left.
That's true. All right, we got to get out of here. Right. God bless you guys. Todd, thank you. Shep, God bless you. We'll talk soon. To the rest of you, enjoy the tournament. Well, we'll talk. Bye. Yeah.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.